All right. I hope this isn't going to be a long one, but we'll see. So everybody's talking about the Trump visit to Europe, and I'll preface this by saying that I don't think it's good to have bad relations with other countries, but sometimes it just makes sense from the way things are going. There's no way necessarily for two countries that may have rivalries not to have friction. I'm not talking specifically about the United States and France or the USA and the European Union. Look at China and India. There's nothing inherently evil about either of those countries, and they're rivals because they're just major industrial powers over there in Asia. Um, but that being said, I would say that a lot of this buzz over what happened during that trip was exactly that. People were making a big fuss about things like Trump not going out in the rain or something, which I didn't really pay attention to. Another thing I heard was that there was a topless protester that chased after him. Very effective tactic we found. They really worked that time that they went out and protested against Putin. Let me see if we can find that photo. In fact, Putin topless protester. One of the greatest photos in the history of photos. Um, so yeah, let's see if we can get a nice close up of that. You see, um, man, this is going to stretch the video out. So you see Putin right here, and here it's written in Russian, "Idi nahuy Putin," which means "go fuck yourself." But he can't see that. All he sees is her boobs. So that's the type of people that are protesting. Morons, complete and utter retards. That's what feminists are, and that's what they'll always be. That's what look. Putin, a lot of things you can criticize. He's accomplished a lot more than this idiot will ever will. You have to give him that. You have to give him that. So that was a couple years ago. Let me see for sure when. Let's see here, New York Post. 20. Yeah, that was in 2013. So in 5 years, look where they've come and look where he's gone. Yeah. Anyway, why is it that I don't think it's a big deal for Trump to ruffle feathers in Europe, especially concerning Macron and Angela Merkel and Justin Trudeau? I believe he didn't shake his hand. And I think the King of Morocco was there as well, and Trump was kind of smirking because he'd fallen asleep during Macron's speech. The reason is that you can claim all the time that Trump is ruining our relations with foreign countries and alienating us from the rest of the world. These leaders are not even close to being popular anywhere in their own countries. They're basically embarrassments. But people wonder, how is it that Donald Trump can get things done around the world? People must really think we're an awful country. Oh, I'm just gonna wander around like Eeyore. No, you have to realize that once you're elected in a European country, public opinion polling works the same way as it does here. What do you think that they basically elect Prince Charming and he goes on to be forever just the voice of the country? No, by the way, we consider them to be liberal democracies just as much as a lot of these opposition people here in the U.S. The Democrats and Paul Krugman and all of the other fake credentialed idiots. They want us to be like Europe. Well, think about it. France, which is the country that everybody's like making a fuss about how our relations are wrong with them. They've had a mess for a long time with just horrible leaders. Remember Jacques Chirac, a guy who was so corrupt that the only good decision that he made when he was in power was not to go to war in Iraq. Other than that, the guy was just a complete and total embarrassment. Then he left office. You had Nicolas Sarkozy, who was kind of just a weird guy. He won one term in office and then lost his reelection to Francois Hollande, the socialist, who was so unpopular that he didn't even run for reelection in 2017. Okay, and now you have Macron, who is basically he was picked by the European Union in order to stave off the election of an ultra nationalist, which was Marine Le Pen. I can tell you, I don't really agree with a lot of the viewpoints of Marine Le Pen. She is pretty like, so I think in fact she does espouse a lot of socialist ideas anyway. So she is very nationalist, and she does believe in some sort of socialist uh, belief system. So I'm not really a fan of her type of politics either. But I don't vote in France, and frankly, I don't care. If you have a problem with that type of politics, I suggest you leave France. Either way, by the way, whether under Emmanuel Macron or Marine Le Pen, you're probably headed towards a pretty bad situation there. But I think of the two, she's actually more qualified. So it says in May 2017, this is from The Guardian, it says Macron's publicly plummeting ratings could mean defeat to Le Pen in European elections. In May 2017, Macron won comfortably with 66% of the vote compared to Le Pen's 34%. He was France's shiny new toy. His ratings were sky high. A portion of the left had rallied to his cause after being disillusioned with President Hollande and the socialists' poor showing in the first round, and he had beaten Le Pen in a televised debate that left her short of presidential credibility. But now I think his popularity is so low. I saw one poll that said he has 69% disapproval rating. Let me see if I can find that. So back to topless protester. So this was from this September, okay? But it hasn't changed much from then. It says that he had 29%. I'm reading the liners here, but it won't open. 29% approval. That is in some. I mean, it's perhaps 20% lower than Donald Trump, if you think about it. That's how bad he's doing. In let me see here. Axios actually says it's below 20, which would be fascinating. Below 20, you have to realize if somebody whose approval rating is below 20. Here, this is from September 16th from Axios, which Axios is pretty good. It says just 19% of French people approve of President Emmanuel Macron's performance since he took office in May 2017. According to a new poll reported by Bloomberg. So he's just losing more and more support the longer he's in office, and I think eventually he'll just be. Damn it. Eventually, I think he'll just be forced to step aside when, just like with Hollande. France is a very difficult country to govern. The people sour on leaders very fast, and Macron is pretty much he's toast over there. I would say this, and this is something that might come as a surprise to you. I think that Donald Trump might have greater approval numbers in France than Emmanuel Macron. So those people saying, "Oh, it's such a problem," I mean, he's pissing off Merkel and Macron. First of all, Merkel, her entire her government is unraveling piece by piece. Every single official that keeps her in power is being replaced by people within her own party. Her own party is basically going through some sort of Tea Party like shifting of the generation. It's not the same idea in terms of beliefs, because most of those people are a little more moderate right. But they're afraid of this whole immigration specter, and she's making everything worse for them. So they don't want to lose their jobs. So they're basically dismantling all of her political allies, and you know, eventually she's just going to have nobody left to keep her in power, and she's going to have to resign. So no, I'm not worried at all about Donald Trump ruining our relations with Europe, and that's about it. So please like this video and share it. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds. Comment on the video and contribute to my Patreon if you should so choose. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you later.